Hello, we're here at Fort Phil Kearny State Historic Site in Wyoming. This is a brand new visitor center. It's just opened last year. This is a very pretty area. It is a little windy today. Just finished at the visitor center, which was very nice. As I said, brand new, nice clean bathrooms, always important. Little gift shop and some displays. So now we're going to head over here to the Palisade. Okay. We're here at used to be an entrance to Fort Phil Kearny. Interesting enough, this fort was only in existence for 2 years, from 1866 until 1868. But there were a number of notable fights during the Indian Wars that occurred close by here. This fort was built in only 3 months. So we see got some stakes and a fence line here that marks some of the original boundaries of the fort walls. So the Bozeman Trail, which is a major trail headed into Montana, ran just along this side of the fort over here.
I want to tell the hot goss.
Tell the hot goss.
Okay, so there were 2 major battles here, the Box Train and Fetterman, that were just nearby. So after the Battle of Fetterman, one of the, I can't remember if it was lieutenant or colonel, died. His widow was still at the fort. His widow was taken in by the colonel and his wife, and they stayed here until the fort closed in 1868. And at that point, just 3 years after leaving Fort Phil Kearny, she, the wife of the colonel, also died from tuberculosis. And then the colonel and that widow that had lived with them here got married. So feels like 1860s hot goss, right? Something was going on. Anyway, that's the gossip.
This displays an interesting contrast with the palisade, a defensive wall that was actually built completely around the entire fort location. In direct contrast to our video from Fort Laramie, granted, which was built 20 some odd years later, but did not have any walls of any kind. So it's interesting to note that, as there is apparently also a major controversy among the officers at the fort as to whether or not they should spend their time building the fort and doing the fort-related activities, or whether they should have made a more concerted effort to go after, offensively, to go after the Indians that were causing disruption, which was the reason the fort was built here. Right here, this is the edge. This is the major parade ground area here in the middle, and it would be surrounded by buildings, which you can see are marked by some of these stakes. Right here. Okay, here we've got a nice view of the building corners marked by these stakes right here. It looks like the facility here actually mows the building areas a little differently, because you can pretty clearly see them. Which is an interesting little bit. I think we mentioned it a little bit before, but it's always the question of well, why was the fort built here of all places? Two primary reasons, obviously. One is that it's right along the major trail, headed out west, the Bozeman Trail. The other reason why it's specifically built here is because you see this line of trees in the low ground right up ahead. There is a fairly sizable, for the west, river running right along there, so it supplies water for the fort and for everyone around it. This area down here was actually where they stored the horses and other animals in support of the fort. We've often made talks about how logistics, it's the movement of people and cargo, tends to really drive the train on where you end up going, what you end up doing, and Fort Kearny is no exception. In 1867, the fort had been open for about a year. They had the capacity to store approximately 30 tractor trailers worth of supplies and equipment. To give you an idea of how much of that stuff is, they recorded 606,000 feet of lumber. That's 115 miles, 130,000 bricks, 3,400 cords of wood, which is equivalent to about 114 tractor trailers. Some pretty large numbers. Okay, so the fort cemetery can be seen there at the distance. It's that white square out there. It was actually the first thing they broke ground on before they even built the stockade. Malnutrition, disease, and harsh weather accounts for more deaths than actual combat generally. Or at least in those days it did. Most of the bodies were actually moved in 1888 to Custer Battlefield National Cemetery, which we saw earlier. A large number of civilians would often also work in and around the fort, doing a variety of jobs, such as being a teamster, basically driving a wagon, laborers, carpenters, watchmen, and cooks. And Army rules did not allow them to live inside the fort unless they had a direct connection, so many would live just immediately outside the fort. Right, so we've about wrapped up our visit here at Fort Phil Kearny. As you can see, it's a flag right there. I can actually find it with the camera. It's a bit of a windy day, but that's okay. We're here in the lee of the visitor center and just enjoying the view. And we'll cut down on the wind noise and kind of talk about our thoughts here. So, is Phil Kearny, Fort Phil Kearny, a destination? Absolutely not. But it is a great detour. We're about halfway between Billings, Montana, and Devil's Tower. About 2-ish hours.
About 2 hours to go to Devil's Tower.
Right,
We're about 2 hours out of Billings.
Right. And so this is a great stopping stop.
It's a great pit stop.
Yeah.
It's literally like 2 miles off of 90. So if you are in the area, if you're going between those two spots and you need a place to have clean bathrooms, to have a picnic, and also spend, half an hour seeing something historical, maybe learning a little bit of history, it's not a bad spot at all. But I mean, I wouldn't unless I lived in this area, I wouldn't make this a destination.
Yeah, it's a great spot. It's got very new, clean bathrooms. It's got a picnic table set up. It's a great spot for a short little detour to break up the driving a little bit and get a chance to walk and stretch your legs and enjoy a little bit of history and enjoy some scenery.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, for that I'd recommend it.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, our next stop, Devil's Tower. We'll see you there.